What's up, Corporate Misfits? Welcome to the Corporate Misfit Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Darrington, founder of the Corporate Misfit Club and business strategist for female entrepreneurs who are looking to start, launch, and grow their business. I am so excited for today's special guest on this Wednesday strategy session. So I love talking all things retail, and today's special guest is Stephanie Smith, and she's going to be sharing with us how to get started on Etsy and how to get started in the e-commerce world. Stephanie is also known as the Business Chic Mama, and she creates her businesses around the love of creating. She is a wife, a mom of a high-functioning autistic daughter, and a stepmom. As a successful fashion designer over the last 2 decades, she has learned a thing or two about using her talents and passions to help inspire other creative entrepreneurs to get their business started. At the end of 2015, she stumbled upon the world of Etsy, and since then, she has created multiple Etsy shops totaling over $200,000 in sales, and she did that part-time while running her design business. Fast forward to today, she has grown her YouTube channel and her Etsy success coaching business, which includes several courses for creators as well. Stephanie is known as the Etsy Pro on the big blog Moms Make Sense. Her mission is to help creative entrepreneurs overcome fears about starting their own businesses and help them and inspire them to create while living out their dreams. All right, let's go ahead and dive right in with Stephanie to learn more about how you can get started with Etsy and also succeed on this amazing platform.
You're listening to the Corporate Misfit Podcast with Brittany Darrington, where female entrepreneurs can get powerful tips and advice on how to start, launch, and grow their business.
Stephanie, I always love having fashionistas on the Corporate Misfit Podcast. I have a background in fashion, so I am so excited to chat with you today.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much, Brittany, for having me. I truly, truly appreciate it, and I'm excited to share with your audience some of the little nuggets of wisdom I've learned over the years.
Can you tell us more about your background as a fashion designer and how you became the Business Chic Mama?
So I'm going to take you back to 1998, where I was at a crossroads. I was working for a local fashion designer, and I actually was running her entire business, which was a small factory. And there was about 7 of us, and she decided to move. We were in Miami at the time. She decided to move up to Ocala and close her business and kind of semi-retire. Even though her business was successful, she just wanted to move on to different things. So I'm like at this crossroads, and I'm like, okay, what do I do now? So I literally said, I am going to open up my own retail store, and I'm going to start my own clothing line. So that week, I literally went down to this little cute downtown area at the time, Hollywood, Florida, and I started searching out for retail spaces. And I didn't even launch my business. I literally started my business from just not even knowing what I was doing. I literally said, okay, I need to find a space. Then I get the key to the space and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to put wood floors in. Okay, I've got it, or whatever, some kind of flooring, and I've got to decorate. And I literally took it without planning, just step by step by step. So fast forward to today, a lot has happened. I've actually dressed over 50,000 women. I have generated millions of dollars in sales over the years, and I've impacted so many women in so many ways, not just dressing them, but hearing their stories behind the scenes in the dressing room, and just really, really loving on women, all shapes and sizes. And it's just amazing what has happened over the past 21 years I've been in business as a fashion designer. So to get into how I created Business Chic Mama. So I started a YouTube channel really just kind of on a whim. I was reviewing an expensive course that I purchased, and I had 0 followers. I didn't even tell my family I was doing this YouTube channel. I didn't tell my friends. I just started, and I didn't have a following at all. And now I have over 1,100 followers on YouTube. I've grown that channel. I've grown Business Chic Mama because that is the actual quote unquote name that I kind of name myself. Business for being business savvy, chic for being a fashion designer, and mom for being a mom. That's where Business Chic Mama came from. And it continues to grow, and I continue to inspire people every day. And it's just been really, it's kind of a new ride. I've only been doing this for about a year, but it's been amazing so far.
Wow, you have such an amazing background, Stephanie. Okay, so how did you get started with Etsy? So you started the YouTube, but how did you get into, okay, I'm going to also take this to Etsy?
I just want to tell all the listeners out there, I have entrepreneurial ADD. And I actually have about 7 or 8 different businesses going on at the same time. Don't ask me how I do it, but I do.
I'm going to ask you, how do you do it?
You know what? There's a few principles. We'll get into that a little bit later. I think you're going to ask me a couple questions that will lead into it, but we don't want to get off focus. For all those ADD guys out there, we want to get on focus. So let's talk about so Etsy. Okay, so back in the end of 2015, again, I had a thought, me being an entrepreneurial ADD type. My former boss that I had worked for, I looked her up on Etsy. We still were in touch, but I knew she had an Etsy shop and she was crushing it on Etsy. And here I am in my business. I've had multiple locations in South Florida with my business. And I am always thinking about, okay, what happens if the retail industry goes, kabunk, which actually we know it has. And what the retail and brick and mortar space. So I said, let me see if I can just dabble and put up a few things on Etsy. And I actually just thought about a niche that I wanted to go in, which was I also love making jewelry and I've had a lot of jewelry supplies laying around. So I started an Etsy shop, which was creating tassels, because at the time, tassels were really hot and they still continue to be a hot trend. They're not going away anywhere soon, but I started making denim tassels and funky little things and jewelry making supplies that were laying around my house. And I committed to opening the shop, and I committed to adding products every day, and it blew up. It blew up to almost $200,000 in sales. Now it's 2019, part-time income. So this was really just an amazing another outlet, and I can't believe that the shop actually grew so tremendously, and it was just really another eye opener that, hey, I can really do anything I put my mind to.
Oh, this is so powerful because there's so many listeners right now, Stephanie, who want to get started, whether that be with a side hustle or start their own business, but they're falling into the stage of, oh, how do I do it? Oh, this might be too complicated. Or how do I actually generate revenue into my business? How did you decide what you were going to sell? Because that seems to be a common question that a lot of people who are looking to go into the e-commerce world, they're always questioning, what should I be selling, or what's a product that will do well for my ideal customer? So how did you kind of narrow down to start with tassels?
Well, that's such a good question. And as a business coach, I hear it all the time, and we suffer from that analysis paralysis syndrome, which we really can't decide because we're overwhelmed with the choices. I actually did create a small, very inexpensive course that will break down things for the person that wants to get started and they're overwhelmed. But what I talk about inside this course are just a few simple get started ideas, which are really, first of all, find out what you love. I mean, people overlook this and they just want to go for the money. But what happens if you're just really not passionate about what you're doing? You're not going to really, be passionate about your business. So number one is find out what you are in love with. Like, what is your, like, makes you smile? What do you like working with, especially in the creative space? if you truly, let's say I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you love your dog, your golden retriever, and you're great at knitting. Guess what? You got a shop right there. You can be doing fun little, maybe it's hats for your whatever, excuse me, clothing for your golden retriever, t-shirts, um, anything in that golden retriever niche, because there are a ton of people looking specifically for golden retriever products. Now, again, that's just a really simple example, but if you know what I mean, just by going again, super niche, and this goes really with any type of business, whether it's Etsy or anything else, the more niche you go, the faster you're going to start earning income. And don't have that fear that you are, and this is another fear I hear quite often is, oh no, I'm going too broad. I mean, I can't, I'm going too niche, I'm not going to be able to, if I get my client, then I'm going to miss out on all these other people. And that's such a really actually the wrong way of thinking, because you need to start somewhere, and the niches are, are in the riches. You know what I'm saying? The niches are in the
Absolutely.
riches are in the niches. So to my definitely, what I would suggest for anyone to get started is to be passionate about what you are doing, to love what you're doing, and to create a business out of it. But make sure also that people are looking for that type of product. And we have so many resources now. We have Google, we have even just getting on Etsy and typing in the search and see what people are looking for. That is such an easy way to, see what's going out there. You've got to do some market research to get started.
I love that you're sharing this because, again, like you mentioned, a lot of people in any industry are really nervous to niche down their business. They're afraid that if they niche down, that ultimately they're going to miss out on so many people. But I love to say, not everyone is your client. You just have to find that right tribe for you, and you stick to them and you serve them with the utmost value. And ultimately, you will see some transactions happening within your business.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned a few fears, but another fear that a lot of people have when it comes to Etsy or any e-commerce, especially, is being tech savvy. So, are there any tech fears that you could help someone to overcome if they are feeling like, how do I conquer Etsy?
Yeah, absolutely. Etsy actually is a really simple platform to get started. It is very user friendly, and it walks you through the first few steps. Like, okay, let's pick a shop name. Let's go ahead and add your products, and it kind of walks you through those first few steps. So there is always a learning curve for whatever platform you are going to be choosing, but don't let that be the fear. Don't let that be the thing that's going to stop you, because once you wander and meander around the platform and you start clicking around, it's a really simple platform to work on. It really is, and they're making it more and more user friendly as we go. So that, again, fear is just so crippling, and it's so sad to watch how so many creative entrepreneurs are just paralyzed by fear. It really breaks my heart, because there's so much creativity that is to be released out to the world, and the fear of whatever it is, that is stopping so many entrepreneurs from getting started.
I totally agree. Fear can definitely cripple you, and you have to look fear in the face and address it so you can move past it. So I love that you mentioned, find ways to learn, and it might take time, but don't let that stop you. You are going to always face challenges in anything and everything that you do. So you need to push forward and try anyway. Stephanie,
Yes.
you said something that I absolutely love, and it's all throughout your website. And I absolutely love this saying, but you have, a few things where you talk about where you could be sipping your lattes at home and making money doing what you love. I absolutely love that. But a lot of people have this like, okay, can I really turn Etsy into a business? Can I really make a full-time living or a part-time, make this a part-time gig on Etsy? Did you get started with a plan? I know you went right into it, but did you get started with a plan? Did you make any forecasting goals for yourself in order to make sure that you succeed and hit that $200,000 within your Etsy store?
So, I really, again, I don't do business the typical way most people do, which is really more launching your business. And I kind of dive right in. And, there's really no wrong and right way to start a business. But I will tell you one thing, if you don't start, you're never going to go anywhere. So, for all of you guys listening out there, just get started. And I'm going to give you 5, like, kind of tips or steps to get started on an Etsy business. And it's really, really not that difficult. We tend to overcomplicate so many things. So, let me give you these 5 steps that will help anyone, get started and to just crush it on Etsy. Seriously. The sky is the limit with, Etsy, I think did about, how much was it? Almost $1 billion in sales last year. So if you can't tell me you can't do whatever it is, if you want to pay for your kids' karate classes or you want to make a full-time income, it is at your fingertips. So let me give you those 5 steps to getting started. So the first thing I would do is pick your niche and niche down, as we have already spoken about. But the second thing is to, when you get started on Etsy, you're actually allowed to start behind the scenes before you actually go live. So what I recommend is just start your MVE, which is your minimum viable Etsy shop. I know you might have heard, of course, we've all heard of the minimal viable product, but this, what I call, is the MVE. That is really to give you the power just to get started. Because a lot of times we get caught up on the marketing or the colors of our marketing and all the things that truly don't matter in the end, and it's us stuck. So when we open up this minimal viable Etsy shop, it gives us the power to say, hey, I made a step. It's not perfect, but I'm going to start filling my shop. So after you start filling your shop, and number 3 would be add to your shop consistently, whether that's once a week, once every 2 weeks. I wouldn't recommend doing anything longer than that. You really want to be consistent. But for sure, consistency is one of the biggest factors that really propelled me to make that almost multi 6-figure income. I committed to myself that I was going to add products every single day until I had 500 products. And you know what? It wasn't difficult because I only added a few products every day. And then within months, I had, hundreds of products, and it wasn't overwhelming for me.
Mhm.
Um, so the next thing I would suggest is to start an email list right away. Even if you don't have any followers, even if there is no one watching you or looking at your shop, set up an email list, direct the people from Etsy to an email list so you can connect with everybody that loves your product. That's how you sustain a business in the long run. And number 5, start learning marketing strategies to market your shop. There are tons and tons of free and paid content and courses that we can take, to podcasts like yours, which are truly amazing and inspiring. We have a wealth of information out there. So learn ways to market your shop. And Etsy does have, advertising. You can advertise on Etsy. You can learn Facebook ads. There's just so many ways to market your shop without just waiting for those sales to come in. So that's really it. Honestly, you can open a shop in those few steps. Really, seriously.
Those 5
um,
steps are amazing. And I think that so many people, when they are able to kind of break down the steps, it makes it digestible. It makes it easy for you to really identify how you are going to win on any platform, whether that be Etsy or any e-commerce. Like, being able to break down what you just said helps you to kind of get rid of that feeling of, oh, how do I do this?
Overwhelm. Yeah.
The
Overwhelm, which
overwhelm.
we all, we experience overwhelm, especially with all the information out there now, for sure.
Exactly. I know your program also shares with people how to manage inventory. Inventory is something that a lot of people also kind of jump the gun on. So they get started before they even get started with the Etsy store and getting set up, they jump automatically to what inventory am I going to have for my products? Am I going to have to create products each and every day? What am I going to do? With your 500 products that you created, were you creating a new product every day, or did you, outsource, or what did you do to help you kind of manage your inventory and be able to keep that up to date?
Okay, so I'm going to throw a little something else at you. I actually have had 7 Etsy shops.
Wow.
I still run several of them, but it was
When do
funny.
you sleep, Stephanie?
You know what? I just love business so much. It's more like I just love starting and creating things and seeing what can happen. Well, the reason I started 7 Etsy shops, or my one Etsy shop blew up. So this was my thinking behind it. So I started my first Etsy shop and I started getting some sales. I'm like, oh, great. If I can do, 400 a month in this shop, if I have 7 Etsy shops, I can be making, whatever, 7 times 400 a month. So this thinking. So it was, because it was not overwhelming for me, my first shop. It was just actually beading supplies. I started importing beads and not just making my product. So on Etsy, you can actually sell supplies for a craft. So I started connecting with many different vendors, a lot of them in different countries, and I started purchasing supplies to sell on my shop. So I didn't have to make everything. But that also grew into, I started an Etsy shop for my fashion design business. I started one. I did you name it, I did it all. But then I realized quickly I couldn't handle all of them because the one blew up, and I really focused on the one that was producing the most. So, to answer your question, to go full circle back to the question, there are many different ways to sell on Etsy. So you can sell a digital product, which is a digital download. So let's say there's a print that you're a graphic artist and you want to create your art that people can download. You can do that. You can also sell supplies like I do. And this is just any type of supply, whether it's yarn, buttons, jewelry supplies, clay, you name it, anything that is for the creative space, you can sell on Etsy. And of course, you can make your own products. So, whatever that may be, you can sell from, you name it. There's digital prints all the way to, woodworking, um, leather crafting. If you go on Etsy, of course, you know what I mean. There's really just so much creative talent out there. So those are the types of products that you can sell on Etsy. And it's really a matter of what your choice is and how much time you have in the day to produce those products and even outsource them. Etsy actually allows you to have a production partner. So let's say that you are the designer and you have a production partner. Etsy, with specific details I can't get into at the moment, but will allow you to have that production partner so that can help you ease the burden if you start to get really, really super busy on Etsy.
This is music to so many people's ears right now, especially anyone who is having that feeling of what do I do about inventory? This really helps to break down all the different ways that you can go about actually running your business on Etsy. It does not have to be handmade every single time. You could
Right.
go into, like what you mentioned, almost doing the wholesale side of things, and there's so many different options. It's about identifying what would work best for you and what you're capable of.
Yes, for
Love this,
sure.
Stephanie. You have given us so much wisdom, and I am so grateful for it because there are so many women entrepreneurs, especially, who are just looking to rock out on Etsy. What piece of advice would you give to a aspiring entrepreneur who's looking to use Etsy as their business platform?
You know what? I'm going to give your listeners 3 tips from 3 of my mentors that I adore. And it may not be technical things because I gave you a few technical steps, but this is more of the mindset. The first one is from John Maxwell, who is a famous author and leadership speaker who I just adore. And he actually speaks at our church. He had mentioned practice possibility thinking. And I know that this was something that he himself did not coin. It came from one of his mentors over the years. But I realized over the years that this is how I operate. There are no, no's for me. Yes, no if I need to make a decision that is not correct for my business, but no as with my mental attitude, everything really is possible if I truly, truly, go for it. And I believe even if I'm making mistakes and even if it's yucky and messy in the beginning, well, guess what? My shop or my business is not going to look like this in a year or 2 years or 3 years. I'm molding it. So I practice possibility thinking. Number two, Tony Robbins, take massive action. We have such a hard time taking massive action, and massive action does not mean I've got to work 15 hours a day on my project or my business. What it means is consistent action every day will total massive action over a period of time. So you can work on your business 10 minutes a day. That's it. And you will get much further than if you would have done like 1 hour once a month. So little increments of time, take that massive action. And then the third, tip is from Marie Forleo, who I love dearly. Everything is figure outable, I think she calls it. Yeah. Where everything, if you hit a roadblock, you can figure it out. It might take a little while. It might be yucky. You might feel kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this, but you will work through it. If you have that, that mental, kind of like just, that reset button, like, okay, this stinks right now, but I'm going to push through it because on the other side is going to be wisdom, and it's going to make me feel really good that I figured it out. And if I need help doing it, I'm going to get some help doing it too. So those are the three things that, help me through my businesses. And I do run several of them. And those things are like ingrained in my head.
I love it. And you shared wisdom from three amazing individuals, amazing entrepreneurs, and people who have been in the same shoes as so many of our listeners. So thank you for sharing those words of wisdom and helping our women just understand how they can take massive action by just starting each and every day, and they can figure it all out as they go. It's okay. You don't have to have all the answers right away. Now, Stephanie, how can we stay connected with you and also learn more about your program?
So I am all over the place. I'm on, I have, of course, my website, businesschicmama.com, which is a great website specifically geared to Etsy sellers or wannabe Etsy sellers from the very beginning stages. Like, let's say you don't even know what you want to sell. I've got something for you. You can connect with me if you already have an Etsy shop and you feel like you're stuck, or if you want to open, I call it an easy as pie Etsy shop, the acronym meaning passive income Etsy shop. I have actually a workshop coming up in the fall where you can pre-register and sign up, where I am going to start a brand new Etsy shop from scratch. And it's going to be a passive income Etsy shop where you don't even need to do any of the work once you're set up. Of course, that's not saying you can't you need to maintain the shop, but this is for all of you that feel like you don't know what to sell, you don't have a creative talent, but you want to start something and you want passive income. So that is the website. I'm on YouTube, Business Chic Mama, Instagram, and I also, my fashion design business is ohmybod.com, where I create all types of clothing from fitness wear to dresses. So if you want to see some fashions, you can head over to ohmybod.com.
Oh, Stephanie, this is so exciting. And I cannot wait for people to come and join you and see you behind the scenes get set up. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I will make sure to leave all of your information within our show notes. Thank you again for joining us on the Corporate Misfit podcast. It has been a pleasure, and I am so grateful for your wisdom.
Thank you, Brittany. Such a pleasure.
If you've enjoyed today's episode of the Corporate Misfit podcast, we invite you to check out the Corporate Misfit Club. The Corporate Misfit Club is the essential resource for female entrepreneurs who are looking to start or grow a business they actually love. Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur in your startup phase or simply thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship, we've got your back, girl. With our extensive course library, monthly training, exclusive members-only discount perks, and unlimited tools. We also have a supportive community of women where our members share stories, experiences, their wins, and business tips. The Corporate Misfit Club is the perfect place to be to start, launch, or grow a business. So check it out at corporatemisfitclub.com.
All right, Corporate Misfits, make sure you subscribe and also stay tuned. We have our upcoming Friday feature where we chat with female entrepreneurs who share how they left their 9-to-5 to start their own business.